Hey, and welcome to Eat Out at Home, the podcast. This is the place for those who love cooking and creating connections through food. I'm your host, Chef Evelyn, and on this podcast, I share with you my favorite tips and tricks for enjoying life one bite at a time. If you're ready for today's episode, sit back, relax, grab a snack, and let's dive in. Hey, and welcome back to another episode of Eat Out at Home, the podcast. And today I want to chat about how to make cooking at home consistently a priority, because I really feel like that until something is a priority, and let me speak for myself, until something is a priority for me, it will continue to be inconsistent. It will continue to move to the back burner, to the bottom of the list. And I really think that when you are embarking upon anything, or I'll say when I'm embarking upon anything, I really have to make it a priority. Otherwise, it's a want to want, right? Like I want to be the kind of person who wants to cook at home consistently. But if I'm being honest with myself, maybe there was a season where I didn't want to, but I wish that I wanted to, if that makes sense, right? And so, here's the thing. I think that, when people are talking about cooking at home and, you got food in the fridge and all of that kind of stuff, I think the reason why it hasn't been effective is because it hasn't been rooted in something that the individual values. I think we all collectively can agree that cooking at home is more financially beneficial than eating out consistently. I think we also can agree that cooking at home is a better health choice. Even if you're cooking a hamburger at home versus getting a hamburger out, the hamburger that you cook at home more than likely is going to be more beneficial to you from a nutrition standpoint than the one that you get when you eat out, right? And again, I am not opposed to eating out. I am in the culinary world. I am not anti-restaurant. I'm not any of that, but I'm also pro being intentional about it and it not being the default setting, it being the exception to how we nourish ourselves, right? And so I really think that if saving money or, making better food choices was enough, then most of us would have locked into it already. And I think it really boils down to what people value, what you value, and what's important to you, and locking into that, because somebody can tell you that this will save you money all day, and you're like, yeah, that's good, but it's not enough of a motivator. Somebody could tell you all day that, cooking at home is more beneficial to your health, and it's like, even if that is something that you value or that's important to you, if it's not enough to make it a priority, then it's the wrong angle, right? And I will tell you that for me, neither one of those options was what made me want to start cooking at home again consistently when I got back into it. After I did an episode maybe a year and a half ago now that talks about like why I stopped cooking for 7 years. And it wasn't about, oh, you know what, this is a great way to save money and that's why I should cook at home. And it wasn't about, oh my gosh, this is so much better for my health and that's why I should start cooking at home. And that is great. And I am experiencing those benefits for sure. But for me, cooking at home consistently was really anchored in self-expression and creativity. And that may not be the same for you or someone else, but it's very important to find the thing that anchors you in, that locks you in. And I have a conversation with a friend all the time where we talk about that when you want something or when you desire something enough, the discomfort and the discipline, while they don't go away, they almost become negligible, meaning that the end result is so valuable to the individual, or they desire that end result so much that whatever the path is to get there, they're fine with. Like, I'll give you an example. being someone who has an active, like physically active lifestyle is important to me. And I live off a walking trail, right? And, there are so many, stories and results about how like walking is just great for your health and it can transform your body and do this and it's free and, it's easy and you don't need to go to a gym and all of this, right? And I can't bring myself to walk. However, I am willing to drive 30, sometimes 45 minutes away from my home, sometimes in traffic, to go to a adults only dance studio where I take ballet and jazz and Horton and things like that. And it's because the result that I get from dance, whether it's, not just the physical, but like the mental and the emotional and the community and all of that kind of stuff, outweighs the results that I get from walking, even though the walking is closer, easier, more accessible, and significantly less of a financial investment, right? And so the same thing comes from eating out at home. There was no all of the conversation around financial savings and benefits of health. Like I knew that and that was important. And at that time and for those years, it wasn't enough to get me to cook at home consistently. It wasn't until I found out why cooking at home consistently was important to me, right? That ironically had nothing to do with the two main things people talk about when they're cooking at home. Once I found that, and because I desired that so much, I was locked in, right? So for me, it was self-expression. As a chef, food is my art form. It's my expression. My stove is like a form of a sanctuary. If I'm stressed, I know I can go in the kitchen. I can tune out the world. I can take these ingredients that seem like they're very minimal and turn it into something beautiful. I can look at it. I can smell it. I can touch it. I can taste it. I can hear the sizzle. I can hear the boiling. It's this fully immersive, full sensory experience. And for me, that was the motivation to cook at home consistently, right? It was like every time I'm coming up with something new. Like I like to tell people in my life all the time, I was like, I rarely cook the same thing twice. It may be variations on a similar thing. It's never exactly the same twice because I'm always just experimenting, trying new things. What if I, take something that I made before, but I added this or took this out or exchanged this for that. And it's just iterations on art for me. Now, that may not be what it is for you, right? It may be that cooking brings you community. It may be that cooking is a form of self-care or stress relief, which for me, baking for sure is a stress relief, right? It's why I got back into baking. And I can say all day, well, the butter and the sugar and the flour. And it's like, well, I'm not baking and eating it every single day, but I realized for my mental health, which is important to me, baking was a fantastic stress reliever. That's actually how I started cooking in the first place. So I would encourage you to really think about, like, if you haven't been cooking at home consistently, or you've been trying to like force yourself to cook at home and you're like, oh, I know I should be doing this. First of all, take out the shoulds and also think about outside of the kind of stereotypical, oh, it saves you money and, it's better for you and trying to force yourself into cooking at home. Is there a way for you to tap into something that you desire more that may not be such an obvious benefit on the surface, but really resonates with you, right? It's kind of like anchoring in to a deeper desire. Like, I'm not trying to make this like super woo or deep, but I realized I was like, cooking for me is a form of self-expression, which is why overly restrictive diets don't work for me as a culinarian, right? Like this idea that whole food groups are off limits, right? It's like, that's never going to work for me. That works for some people. So that's not me villainizing or demonizing that. That works for some people because their motivation may be different. Their circumstances, their beliefs, what they value may be different. For me, as a person where cooking is a form of self-expression, a form of artistry, I want to paint with all the colors, right? I want to be able to use all the things. So with that being said, listen, I hope you enjoyed this episode. I hope it gave you something to think about. Let me know in the comments below, like, what are some things that really anchor you into cooking at home, or what are some ideas that have been swirling around in your head? Or have you, been experiencing kind of the, run of the mill, like, yes, I need to force myself to cook at home because it's the right thing to do. And, I should be doing it because obviously it's going to save me money and it's going to make me healthier. And maybe this episode has kind of sparked something in you and it said, yeah, that's great. And it's not enough. Okay, it's not enough, right? So let me know in the comments below, and I will talk to you in next week's episode. Thank you so much for listening. If you're ready to start cooking at home consistently, make sure you join the Eat Out at Home Challenge. Visit chefevelyn.com/challenge for all of the details. If you're curious about what I'm cooking in between episodes, make sure to give me a follow on YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, and Facebook for some delicious behind the scenes. And if you enjoyed this episode, please head on over to Apple Podcasts and Spotify to leave us a review. Remember, eating out at home allows you to cook better, eat healthier, save money, and create community. And most importantly, cooking at home is the ultimate form of self-care. I'll see you in the next episode.